Okay, welcome back to the Adventure Within channel. My name is Andrew Fritz. I'm a clairvoyant, healer, and meditation teacher. And today we have an interview with Dr. Ibrahim Jaffe, and he's a licensed medical doctor and world-renowned spiritual teacher who pioneered the field of medical spiritual healing, a deeply integrative approach that addresses the root of physical, emotional, and spiritual illness. Bridging Western medicine with Sufi spiritual wisdom, Dr. Jaffe has helped over 50,000 people worldwide, including celebrities, CEOs, and those on the brink of death, heal chronic conditions, awaken their hearts, and transform their lives. A former emergency room physician turned spiritual guide, he offers profound insights into how the heart, soul, and body are intimately connected. Dr. Jaffe is the co founder of the University of Sufism and has trained thousands of healers, leaders, and seekers in the art of walking a path of love, peace, and divine presence. His work is especially resonant for those seeking real healing when nothing else has worked, and who long to live from the truth of their soul. Hi, Dr. Jaffe. Welcome to the show.
Very nice to be here, Andrew. My pleasure.
Excellent. I'm really excited about our conversation here today. I'd just like to start things off with, when and how did you get into spirituality?
I knew that question was going to come today from what I had heard. So I would try to think about that. And actually, it's kind of a mystery to myself, to be honest with you. As a kid, I was very sensitive. I used to find, diseases. Like, for example, I had a dog, and when I was 5, and I remember I put my hand on his hip, and there was I thought a large swelling, a hard swelling, and I went to my parents to say, "Hey, what is this?" They said, "There's nothing there. We don't know what you're talking about." And then
Hmm.
about 7, 8 years later, on that hip, a massive hard tumor came out,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and dog had ended up dying of it. And I realized, that that was the kind of thing I had always been sensitive to, kind of energetic shifts before they revealed themselves.
Yeah. And that's how are you sensing that? Like that's, people that are into spirituality might know that there's these different types of psychic abilities or levels of intuition or the way they can sense or perceive energy. Was it a feeling? Was it something a knowing, like, or a combination of different ways of just getting that information? Like, how did you
Well, at
experience
that
that?
time, it was, I mean, I was very young. I really didn't, know much. I just thought it was there. I had my hand on it. I was sure there was a large, hard swelling on her. And, and then when my parents checked it, they said, "We don't know what you're talking about. There's no swelling here. There's no differences. What are you feeling?" So I kind of stacked it up that maybe I was, I was wrong. I wasn't thinking right.
Mm, right. Yeah. And then were you able to kind of maintain that sense of awareness throughout life, or did it like for myself, like it kind of shut off for quite a while before kind of I reawakened to it and opened it back up? What was it like for you?
I think it was kind of percolating in the background, through most of the years, and then, kind of led into subtle spirituality. Like I think probably like you, I was kind of more, people would talk about different things, and I would feel, energetically that it wasn't right. There was like, oh, they're saying this, but there's something off. Like it just went off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the kind of the fun thing with being sensitive or psychic that you can kind of get a sense of the energy. You know, if someone's saying something, you go, okay, I hear you saying this, but underneath that, it seems like there's something completely different. So energy never really lies, does it?
No, energy doesn't lie. If you're sensitive to it, then you got to deal with that.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an actually an advantage of being aware of energy. So that's something I really enjoy. Um,
Yeah, I do too. I think actually it's, we're people who have developed that or have that naturally, because you can certainly learn it. They have I don't know, they're up a level in every part of their lives because they're working, even if they're doing a company, like I was reading about Steve Jobs, he
mhm.
was energy sensitive, and he was watching the energy in his own way.
Right.
So, those of us who have it, it's like we're up a level of understanding what's going to form and how it's created.
Hmm.
And then if we can, and that's the thing for your viewers and my, people who come to me, it's like if we can help them to increase that, then they're going to actually do better in their lives in every way.
Right. No, I agree with that 100%. Um, so I know you traveled the world, kind of it seems like you were kind of seeking more spiritual knowledge or wisdom, in regards to healing and whatnot. When did that begin in your life, and was there a moment that kind of was there some sort of catalyst that kind of, fired that off?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think after, not actually sure even when it started. I think my brother got involved in spirituality first. He
Hmm.
went off to India, studied with Rajneesh,
Hmm.
and he was kind of trying to kind of lure me on the path.
Ah.
And I was kind of enjoying college and used to work. I used to wrestle for University of Illinois, so I was enjoying the wrestling, and I wasn't so much wanting to go on a spiritual path, and I liked where I was, so
Hmm.
I kind of resisted it. But when I went eventually to visit him in India, and then I saw my first Hindu healer, and they were doing, it looked kind of like a dance. He was kind of doing Hindu Sanskrit Vedantic, kind of movements, but he was kind of dancing with it.
Mm.
And as he did the dance, it was shifting the energy, which I could feel, and then the person got better afterwards.
Ah.
So I thought, okay, so here's this, Sanskrit, I don't know what it was really,
Hmm.
Sanskrit form of healing. And that got me curious. So then I ended up starting to think about it more. I ended up going to Japanese temples and studying with some of the different monks in Japan for a short time.
Mm.
And they had their own system, which for me, I found I didn't like so much because I found when I did it, my heart seemed to close. I felt like my heart was getting tight or harder.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. It felt like I understood the consciousness was really good. Like I was really starting to get clear on the subtle worlds, but what it was doing to my heart, I didn't like.
Right.
And then I thought, no, this path isn't really right for me. So I left there and I kind of went to, at that point, I ended up with the Kahunas in Hawaii.
Ah.
And they're really amazing. Well, you said you were in Hawaii, so
Hmm.
that was really good. But they were also, like there was always kind of this statement, well, you're not really Hawaiian, so you're not really going to get the goods.
Mm.
And so I
Right.
thought, okay, well, I really want the goods, you know.
Right,
So
right.
give me the goods. They're like, give them to you. So I thought, okay. So it ended up kind of traveling around the world, going into, different, went to Philippine psychic surgeons. They were really very, very cool.
Hmm.
And, at one point, they opened up a breast of a woman who had real heavy tumor. And, I stuck my hand in the breast and, stopped for a while. That sounds a little, but anyway, I was in the tumor
Sure, yeah.
working on it. And eventually he went in and kind of using his hand, cut it out, pulled it out,
Hmm.
and put it into a container. And I thought, well, that's, this now we're really getting into the mystical sides of things. And then,
Right.
the woman, they closed up her breast, and she said, "Oh, I feel so good. Thank you." And as she was talking, I realized that he had taken the tumor out, but the issue that had caused the tumor inside of her was still completely active.
Ah.
And I thought, this is like the most amazing type of healing I've ever seen. But if we don't get to the root cause of why the tumor formed, then am I really doing anything?
Right, right.
So- And that was actually probably the major shift moment for me because I realized, no, I need to get to the root causes of illness and why does it form in the consciousness and how do we change it rather than, these mysterious powers of being able to open the etheric body and cut out the tumor and take it out and all that stuff, that there was something deeper. And that was the moment I made my choice to go that direction.
That's really cool. That makes a lot of sense. That's it seems like our world, and it's certainly shifting. It seems. I'm sure you're noticing that, but it seems that we're so focused on the physical side of things that we don't look at, like you said, like these more subtle levels of energy and consciousness. And that sounds like that's what you're interested in, kind of where you started to go from there. Um, yeah, I guess with that said, then, where do you find like where do you find that pain really derives from? If we're maybe looking at the wrong thing, where is it to really look, and where does pain kind of come from, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I feel that the energetic structures are kind of secondary. Like, in other
Mm,
words, for me, the energy, the etheric body, emotional body, mental body, subtle bodies,
mm,
all really valuable, and you can heal through all of them.
hmm
But I think it's for me that what forms it in the soul and what forms it in the heart that actually sets the inner dimension of it. And then the energies kind of wrap around that and then they manifest. So, what I try to do is I always start with energetic. So I'll look at, okay, what's the pattern in the etheric body? What's the pattern in the emotional, mental body, subtle bodies? And I look at those patterns to try to figure out, just basic diagnostic things. For example, hypothyroidism will have a very different energetic pattern than, um, let's say, hyperthyroidism.
mm.
So I'll be looking at, well, okay, well, this is hypothyroidism. What type is it? And I'll try to kind of identify the energetic pattern of the illness just so I know what it is as a healer. Okay. And once I've got that, also because I'm a physician, I'll then go in and I'll say, well, let's see, do I need to do any tests? So, for example, do I need to run a thyroid test or a TSH or something to figure out why the person might have it? I want to confirm it.
Sure.
And a lot of times, we're getting there a bit ahead of the lab tests. So a lot of times the lab tests aren't showing up yet, but it is in the field. We're finding it, but it just hasn't manifest yet.
Right. So you kind of sense that you can pick it up on other levels first, that now, okay, we can do something about it and can maybe heal quickly or quicker before it really fully manifests and it's a bigger problem. Is that what you're kind of saying?
That's what I find that if we can catch it before it's manifest, in Sufism we have what are called names of God. So
Hmm.
there's a quality called Zahir, which is the divine. It takes the subtle what's called the musawir, which is the formation of light, and then the zahir brings it into the body or brings it into form.
Ah,
So if we can get it in the musawir before it's in the zahir, it's much easier to heal.
right, right. Yeah,
Okay.
you kind of wish that everyone had this awareness so they could kind of maybe prevent some of the issues that they face. But also kind of going off of that, um, when for certain people, maybe a certain illness or a perceived problem in their life really starts to develop and manifest. How do you view that maybe from a spiritual perspective? Do you think that's kind of like a form of like a wake up call? Like, hey, maybe something's a little off here. You need to address it and kind of redirect kind of where you're going.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to kind of look at like why are we here as human beings? And in Sufism, again, what we learn is God created us to know Him.
Hmm.
Okay, so what that means is God created us to learn the knowledge of the divine, and that learning becomes our completion as human beings.
Hmm.
Okay, so knowing God, at one level means knowing His attributes, His qualities like compassion and mercy, His actions, how God wants us to be in the world. And then at the higher levels, it's his reality, like knowing the divine reality. And that's what enlightenment is all about. If you see it with your third eye, you're in enlightenment. If you see it with your heart, we call it unity.
Hmm.
So you actually enter into these higher states, and that's how you really know God.
Ah. I like that a lot, and I really enjoy the being able to see the quality. You mentioned the qualities of the divine and God, and um, I guess yeah. Since you're clairvoyant, can you share some? What is it? What's your experience of being clairvoyant, or how do you see energy or God or the ultimate or divine reality, I suppose.
Those are really amazing questions. Well, it's all ontological. It's like frequencies, so you can kind of jump through the frequencies and go where you want.
Hmm.
The highest level, which is the godly reality, I mean, I don't know if you could even speak about it because it's so vast,
Sure.
but it's like, I guess you could say, imagine light upon light upon light just kind of flowing out into the universe. And and moving with consciousness. So like even as you think, the light begins to restructure itself, and then it responds to you. It's awakened. So you're thinking, and it changes, and then God speaks with you, and it responds to you, and you're in this incredible moment of, it's beyond beauty. There's no words for it. It's beyond anything we could ever imagine.
Yeah. That's really amazing. Something I've personally found is, with going deeper into spirituality, on one hand, it's this like really beautiful and amazing, profound experience the deeper you go. And then sometimes I find it also challenging. And I'm just kind of curious to see if you've experienced this or maybe people you've worked with experience this, where the deeper you go, the more awake, or more aware you are. It seems sometimes you feel a little more like alone. Sometimes where there's a lot of people in the world that unfortunately aren't, fully awakened, right? And there's no better or worse or right or wrong or any of that kind of stuff. It's just, but you sometimes can feel like you're looking around and you're going, why do I feel, I'm walking around kind of more aware, and people might not fully understand that or kind of at that same level of awareness. And sometimes it's a little challenging. Have you experienced that at all, or?
Yeah, I think that's the curse of being awake, is that you're walking in very thin circles, so you're out there most of the time by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. How do you navigate that?
Uh, well, for me personally, I really learned to get to be okay being alone,
Right.
and I just realized that this was going to be my walk in life, and I love people, I really do. But in the energetic worlds, it's very rare I meet somebody that I can even talk to,
Right, right.
you
So
know.
sounds like this that just having to accept like, okay, this is just the way it is, and this is the path that I chose and I'm currently on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. But later, I kind of did what you did, as I realized, what, I'm kind of lonely here. So I said, I'm going to open a school where I can teach people to enter these worlds, and I'll have a bunch of friends.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I did, and actually it really worked. There was a lot of people who really could open up, and actually what I found is that there were a lot of people out there, but we were all kind of isolated in our own worlds, and
Ah,
so we started coming together, and that was actually really nice to have a family of people. Then all of a sudden,
just creating your own community and bringing all those people together. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's all about. So. Yeah, I guess when it comes to energy healing or
Yeah.
spiritual healing, can you talk about maybe for people that are not really familiar with that, just kind of from your side of things, what is energy healing or what is spiritual healing?
Well, there's a difference between energy healing and spiritual healing.
Okay.
Okay, so energy healing, I would say, is essentially moving what we call the musawir, which is sort of the subtle patterns of light that form around consciousness. And spiritual healing is actually the shifting of the qualities of God within the person
Hmm.
that actually transforms the soul. Okay, so for example, let's say again with the idea, go. For example, there was a woman who came to me with congestive heart failure. Okay, and so if you're for your listeners, congestive heart failure means that the pump in the heart stops working, and the heart starts to enlarge. In her case, she was about 3 times the normal size of a heart.
Oh, wow.
And the pump, which is measured as ejection fraction, should be around 45 to 60. Hers was down close to 25, which is like death's door.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so she came in, and basically the doctors had told her she had about 3 months to live.
Mhm.
And she thought she'd come see me. Maybe I could make a change for her. Okay. So that was the outer history. Now, the next level of the history was that she'd been in a religious community out in New Mexico, and she'd been in these little cabins, and underneath the cabins there were swamp gases from the toilets that were kind of like I don't know what you call them, in the ground toilets. And the swamp gases got into the heart muscle, and this is known to be a fact, and they caused the heart muscle to fail, and that was the cause of her illness. So she was swamp gas induced congestive heart failure.
Got it.
Okay, so and she was about, I think, probably about 55 at the time.
Hmm.
Okay, and And so when I looked at the energetics, which is the energy body,
Mm,
she had what if I remember, it was kind of like a black, it almost looked like an amoeba that was kind of over her heart, penetrating into the heart. And then it went off with a bunch of strands kind of off the body into different places. So she had this kind of a strangular amoeba
mm.
energy.
Yeah.
So, we tried to get clear what was going on. So what we did is we went into the energies, and that was the first level. The energetic was the amoeba. We opened it, and then when we opened it, we found that she was struggling with the fact that this was a religious community,
Mm.
and the person who I don't want to say who it is. I'm kind of conceal it a little bit,
Sure.
but he molested her at the community when she went to him for healing.
Uh,
So she was struggling with like the breaking of trust. It was all about breaking of trust.
right.
Okay. And then we kept going into it deeper, and we got into the spirit, the soul, and the spirit. She was finding that she never trusted God, that she had always distrusted God from a long time.
Mm.
So this outer guy was a manifestation of her distrust in God.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so once we understood kind of the dynamic that was moving, this was all about the quality of Wakil. Wakil is means when we have divine trust, that she was broken in her soul. In other words, she didn't have Wakil. What she had was a false Wakil. In other words, that she had woven an illusion about divine trust.
Mm.
Okay, and that had manifested in this man who had broken her trust with God and the outer religion. It was kind of again, I don't want to go there, but it was a more outer religious path. And
Yeah.
uh, and the results was now she had this illness, congestive heart failure.
Mm.
Okay, and so what we did is we cleaned the amoeba out, we got that off, we got into the issue with the heart, and helped her walk through the pain of betrayal by the priest or whatever he was.
Mm.
And then we got into the higher levels, which was really the issue about her distrust with God. It emanated, and I don't remember, it was something from her childhood. I don't remember what it was, but we were able to get her through that. We moved it out of her and got her back into trusting God and therefore manifesting Wakil in
Mm.
her soul in the right way.
Mm.
And then that was it. It happened over, it was a 3-day workshop, so we were working with her on and off over the few days. And then she left and went home. And then 3 weeks later, she calls me. She said, "You can't believe this." She said, "My heart has completely returned to normal. My ejection fraction is normal. The doctors say it's a miracle, and I don't have congestive heart failure anymore."
Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it sounds like it's almost like this like a peeling of an onion. Like there's like layers or levels that you have to kind of get through to get to the core of the issue. But you're tackling it from the energetic standpoint, um, kind of from the inside out, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I use the energetic as I don't know, it's like a lab test. It's like I'm following it closely, and if I work on somebody, I watch, I come back, and I say, okay, what happened to that energetic? Did that amoeba decrease? Did it get bigger? What happened to it?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then when I'm healing them, I'm watching during the healing itself. So if I do something in the healing and all of a sudden the amoeba begins to dissolve, then I know I'm on the right track. So I use it as a way to kind of guide me as I'm working through the healing.
Right. Um, I'm curious from your perspective, do you feel that when people are not truly being themselves, that becomes an issue? If they're, um, maybe more an ego or just, I call them kind of like false identities or kind of a valence, if you will. If do you feel that if they're less being themselves, that can cause issues, maybe even health issues, as opposed to if they're turning more within and really getting to be themselves, that maybe there's more of a sense of more health in their life?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the more we veil our truth, the more we're not who we are,
Right.
and the more we're not who we are energetically, we shut down our system. And then the body's very intelligent, it's got the chakras, it's got the consciousness. So if you shut down, you're afraid to express yourself, for example,
Hmm.
then it will shut down your throat. It'll end up somewhere in that throat energy, manifesting itself. If it's more of a, belief system, for example, my father was a professor, very bright. He had very strong belief systems. So if I bought into his belief systems, which were essentially scientific,
Mm.
and I cut off from God, his belief systems actually didn't serve me,
Mm.
So the body will show our hidden falsities, in
Right.
ourselves. But we have to be honest about who we are. We have to be truthful, and in that we start to grow. And God is still going to give you trials no matter who you are. In other words, when you're not light, when you're not being truth, you get one trial, which is what I call the trial of falsity, meaning you're not being real who you are. And God says, well, I created you with big love in your heart, and now you're trying to be powerful and strong. You close the love down, so I'm going to have to create something that's going to reveal to you your need for power and why you shut off the love.
Mm. So it seems like in life that, at least down here, everything is um, opportunities to work through things that we need to kind of face and maybe resolve within ourselves. But just outside of our, externally, it seems like, hey, here's the situation, but it's really this internal thing that we need to kind of process, and maybe that won't reoccur anymore. Is that kind of?
That's exactly right. I mean, it goes back to that original thing, I created you to know me. Um, what God wants from us as human beings is to unveil those inner realities so that we can find that subtle connection to divinity and know that divinity.
Mm.
And the way we do that is through trials. In other words, if you, I don't know, let's say that you don't have mercy in your heart. Mercy is one of the key qualities, divine mercy, Al-Rahim. So
Mm.
let's say Allah wants you to have mercy.
Mm.
So he looks inside of you and he says, "Well, you don't really have mercy. You're hard." Okay, I'm not saying this is you or anything. I'm just saying that, but let's say that you were a man who didn't have a lot of mercy, and let's say you had I'm just making it up, but a daughter
Mm.
who you needed your mercy, but you were giving your daughter harshness in place of mercy.
Mm.
So the trial then would become their daughter might start acting out and start crying for mercy. Daddy, please love me, please see me, please care for me. And you're saying, well, I am caring for you, I'm there with you, but really you're not. And that forces you to learn mercy because he's giving you that trial.
Mm. Yeah. No, it's and I imagine for yourself, as you develop spiritually and become more aware, were you able to start to see some things from your own past and go, oh, okay, these are things that I didn't wasn't aware of the time, but this is what was needed to kind of work through this thing, whatever it might be. Is that something you've
Yeah.
reflected on or noticed for yourself?
I think you have to do that. Like as you start to, move deeper, as you're doing energetically healing or you start working in the spiritual paths,
Mhm.
you kind of go back and you look at your life and you start saying, okay, well, this is where I stopped. This is where I got caught. This is where I didn't understand. And then I made a decision that actually caused suffering for me.
Mhm.
And so then you can go back and once you understand it, you release that decision. And sometimes you have to walk through the experience of it. For example, when I was, let me see, how old was I then? Maybe 40-ish, 44.
Mhm.
I got kidney stones and it was very painful. And I went, into the healing work and I was suffering. I mean, it was really painful, but as I went into it, if I would say at a 1 to 10, my pain at that time was a 10. I had never experienced any pain like that in my life.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I was kind of running around the house, literally yelling. It was so painful. I couldn't deal with it. And then I looked deep and I saw where I had not been true to myself in my relationship to my father, where I hadn't fully, showed up as a man. I had kind of let him dominate me.
Mm.
So in that moment, I got it. I saw the domination. I saw where I hadn't showed up. And I faced him right in the inner world. And my father at that point, I think, was still alive. But right in that room, I said, okay, Dad, I've had enough. I'm not going to let this go on anymore inside of me. The minute I faced it and I cleared it, the pain dropped from 10 to an 8.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so then
Mhm.
here, onion again. So then I went back again. Okay, okay, I got it. This is about unresolved fear of experiences in my life. So then in that case, okay, I asked, I prayed, I said, God, Allah, what is our name for God is Allah, means the God.
Mhm.
I said, what's the next thing? The next thing, my mother showed up. And I realized that I had been afraid of losing her love because of things that had happened between us. So I faced her on the internet. I said, Mom, I said, I love you, but I can't. If you don't want to love me anymore, then you have to not love me. That's okay. That's your choice.
Mm.
But I can't hide myself anymore because, who I am is something you're having trouble receiving.
Mhm.
And as I let that go, my pain dropped to a 5. And I went through that for a couple more. I don't remember what the other ones were anymore, but I got down to about a 2. It was almost gone. And then I heard a voice in my head said, "You've done well, lay down." And I laid down on the bed and I could feel this like beautiful, cool wind just kind of wove right through the room, through my body, went into the kidney stone. The kidney stone just evaporated and it was gone.
Oh, wow.
That was the end of it.
That's really cool. That's thank you for sharing that one. That's it's like for most people, when they experience pain, it's, hey, let me get a painkiller of some sort, whether it's over the counter, if it's something prescribed. And, maybe sometimes that is something necessary just temporarily, but it sounds like you just went right to you said kind of your inner work or your inner world and faced it. And it's interesting, we just before were talking about how, things will manifest in our life to work through certain unresolved situations. And in this one, I can't remember if you said your father was alive at that time or not, but you just went to your inner you went within and confronted this. Um, and I guess, can you maybe share what is that like for you? Some people might not, they might be able to understand kind of what you're speaking on, but some people might not. What does it mean to kind of turn within and kind of confront, say a person or your parents? What was that experience like during that?
Well, I mean, first of all, everything we've gone through is stored as memory, subtly, and not just in our minds, but in our bodies and in our energy field. So it's all there.
Hmm.
Even when we're born, like even the experience of birth is stored in those fields, but we forget them. We get lost. In Sufism, we go directly to God's light, and when you go to that light, which we call al-Haq, Haq means the truth. It illuminates the those places. Like it is able to go through time and find it.
Hmm.
Okay, so once you find the core experience, you have, like in my case, I had my father. I had an energetic patterning, which was yellow light, which is fear, but it was hooked into the kidneys and had formed the stone. It was actually when I didn't face the fear, I would push the fear down, and it actually began to precipitate into that stone. It formed the stone.
Hmm.
Okay. So when you go into the subtle worlds and you use Allah's light to show you what's inside, you instantaneously are in the true core experience
Hmm.
of what's causing it. Okay, so now you've got to go through it, meaning walk through it means what didn't you complete in yourself? Like what are you holding in yourself that's not done? For me, I hadn't faced my father, but it could have been a million other things, so you shine that light and you actually the experiences show up. And then as healers, our job is to walk the people, well, first to find the experience, help them to clear it, help them to shift the energy,
Hmm.
and then ground it in the physical body so it doesn't come back.
Hmm.
Okay, now when you've done that, you've actually really served your people. because now you've done it full spectrum. You're getting it from the highest levels of God all the way to grounding it in the body. And now you've walked them through most of the issues that are related to that illness.
Right. Um, and is there, aside from maybe like physical ailments or illness, whether it's personal or people that you've worked with, and obviously you don't have to share names or anything like that, but just um, aside from physical ailments, is there some people might have financial issues or it might be relationship type issues. Have you seen any examples of those that come to mind where you've seen things kind of pop up and get resolved?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, the world, which could be the body, but it could also be your life,
Hmm.
is a reflection of what's inside of you. Okay, so if let's say you're having financial issues, and you're not making money, for example,
Hmm.
there has to be something inside you that manifests that.
Hmm.
Okay, and if you clear that, it should open and it should come. Now, granted, I'm not saying how much will come because I personally believe we all decreed a certain amount of provision in our lives. So not everybody's meant to be a billionaire.
Right. Yeah, I
So
agree.
you may not get that.
Yeah, yeah. As much as some people wish, but yeah,
I wish it. You could try to find it, but if it's not meant to be, you may be able to get your razak earlier. We call it razak means provision, but
Hmm.
but if you're destined for, I don't know, $10 million in your life, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get $10 million.
Right.
But that being said, most, for example, I told the story many times, but we had a guy he was an artist and he was just not making any money at all. And when he came to me, again, we looked at the energetic, and the energetic was kind of like imagine a grid over the heart. There was like a grid system over the whole heart.
Mhm.
And the grid was holding back the razak, which was the provision, the money that would come through.
Hmm.
So I was sitting with him, I was thinking, okay, well, why? This was my first experience of that. So I thought, why, what's going on here with this man? And we went into the grid. And for me, as I went into the grid, what I saw was this massive cross, like a Christian cross holding up. It reminded me of when I was in Hawaii and they used to have these guys running around with crosses on their back in Honolulu. And they were kind of, saying, they're born again Christian and they were wanting to show the cross. And I
Mhm.
thought, okay, so what is this about? Maybe this man is born again. I didn't know. So I started talking to him about him. I said, what does the cross mean to you? And then he just broke down crying, sobbing. He said, well, I was brought up, born again Christian. I was taught to carry the cross, and carrying the cross means you don't have any money because if you have money, then you would not be suffering and you won't reach God. And you need to not have money. You need to suffer if you're going to reach to God.
Yeah. Even just when hear the phrase like carrying the cross, it seems like there's a lot of heaviness or weight to that almost.
Something you and I would not want to do that. I was like, oh my God, because again, for me, Christ has always been so much joy and beauty and love, and so the idea of kind of whipping yourself and carrying a cross and suffering your whole life, it just didn't compute for me.
Right.
So I said to him, and I said, that's exactly what I said to you. I said, are you sure that this whole teaching you're under is right? And he said, well, I don't know. He said, I find Christ to be love. And so I'm having trouble putting this all together in my own being.
Mhm.
So I said, well, what if we take off the cross and we try to return Christ as love? Let's try it. So we were able to get him to release the cross and go to Christ as love. And then I said to him, if sitting with Christ as love, and he was visualizing that he was with Christ and he was having the experience. I said, what does Christ say to you about razak, about provision? He said that God wants me to have provision, but he
Mhm.
wants me to do it in a way that's joyful to my own being.
Mhm.
I said, okay, all right. So I said, what would that look like? And he said, well, I'm an artist. I make big paintings. It's not been working. He went again, he asked Christ. Christ said, do your artwork from your love of me and your love of God. and bring in sort of higher divine truths into what you do. So that it's showing, it's not just artwork, but it's showing something of revelation, it's showing something of beauty.
Mm.
So he said, "Okay, I will." He made the promise to do that, and then that we were done with the session. Cross was gone, energy was gone. He was now in Christ. He was now going to do divine revelation. Okay, then literally that was Friday. Monday, La Jolla Galleries, which is down in California, one of the top galleries in the nation,
Mm.
called him and said, "We don't know what happened, but all of a sudden we had a shift of heart, and we're going to take all 20 or 30 of your paintings, and we're going to put them on display and do a special art exhibit for you." And they took his paintings, which he had been trying to sell for maybe, I don't know, $6,000 a piece. And they put them up at 40, 50, $60,000 per painting,
Oh, wow.
and they sold, and that launched him into his world of painting now. He's
Oh
very,
my God.
very successful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love these different examples of the inner work and how it changes and kind of goes down all the different levels to the physical, and there it is. Um, so yeah, this is why I love the energy work and being able to be aware of that and work the energy. So you're giving all these wonderful examples of the healing. Um, so what would you say? Because when you, as a clairvoyant, you start to, see the colors or the memories or whatever it might be, images. Um, I guess what would you say that the source of healing is? What is allowing the healing to take place, or what's the root of it that helps them, like the blackness or the darkness around that person's heart? Like what is helping dissolve or kind of work through these layers of pain or whatever it might be?
That's a great question. I mean, and that's kind of the key to the whole thing. It's a super question.
Hmm.
The key is alignment with the divine.
Hmm.
Okay, so if, like in the case of any of these cases, deep down, God is the healthy reality. It's the whole reality.
Hmm.
In other words, what God wanted for this man was that his artwork, which was beautiful, was aligned with divinity and serving the world to have a higher frequency, a higher love, a higher consciousness.
Hmm.
That's what God was seeking. And so when he committed to it, and then he allowed that light to come into him, whatever was operating from fear or from, lack or from misunderstanding carrying the cross, um, was released and the alignment came in. Once the alignment comes in, the natural flow of God happens,
Hmm.
and we return to health.
Um, do you think that there's a sense of the individual having to surrender to some degree or fully to really let that take place or that flow to really occur?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's surrendering, but what it's really surrendering to is the person's higher being. It's not like you're like a prisoner to somebody else or something.
Right.
You're actually surrendering. We're all connected. We all have divinity within us.
Hmm.
So what we're really surrendering to is the higher divine self.
Hmm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I guess can you speak to, for someone that doesn't really know what a higher self is or um yeah, can you speak to what that might be or maybe the qualities of that perhaps?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the human beings is ontological. Ontological means it has spiritual levels. Okay, so we have our bodies, which are clay based. We're made out of clay, but we also have the elements, air, earth, water, fire inside there.
Mhm.
We have a subtle body. We have our heart, and the heart chakra, the heart center, is actually a whole realm of light in its own place. And then we have our souls, which are our essential reality, which are made of color. In other words, some people are green, some people are yellow, some people are red. And then we have the qualities of God. Like every soul has compassion and mercy and love and peace and goodness in it. And then the highest is we have our spirit, and our spirit is the breath of God that's been blown into us.
Hmm.
So most people, when they go to their higher self, they're mostly going to their soul. and they're connecting into the soul and they're getting impressions from the soul. But the soul is not fully realized. The spirit is closer. They really need to get to the spirit.
Mm,
Um, and to do that, once they reach that, which you have to, you have to walk to get to, you have to go to it. Once you reach that, now you're getting a pure flow from divinity into your being.
mm,
Okay, and that's really your higher self. The higher self is really that divine spirit inside of you. And when you reach that, and if you bow to it, so you're saying, okay, divine spirit, you guide me. Let me live according to your reality, and let me live to the truth of God inside of you. That's the alignment that actually frees people.
mm. I like that. And that's I'm sure that's something we're all working towards and seeking. I imagine that in that process, there's the path to the truth, whatever that might be for that person. But then there's we all handle these expectations and family programming and friends like, hey, this is who you should be and how you should do it and what you should be doing. Maybe for yourself or people you've worked with, what have you noticed that helps people transition away from, hey, this is what I'm expected to do, but actually there's this other calling that's calling me and nagging at me. I feel like I need to go in that direction. What do you find helps people kind of shift out of that expectations to more of that path of their truth, like to their higher self?
Right. Um, well, I mean, first of all, the whole condition on the planet is that we are placed as souls with our parents for a reason.
Sure.
So whether we realize it or not, those parents actually carry the seeds of our freedom.
Hmm.
Even though the way that it may be seeded is to actually imprison you. Like
Right.
that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if your parent imprisons you and then you get mad about it, it forces you to find another way, and that's how it works.
Ah, I see. Even that seems it was even the intention or the thing that you need to do. I see what you're saying.
Exactly. Because
Yeah, yeah.
every soul, see, souls are all created differently. So, one soul needs to be strong, one soul needs to be loving, one soul needs to be kind. It's like there's different, primary teachings in every soul.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you are, for example, let's say you need to be strong. Okay, maybe God would put you with a parent who's an alcoholic.
Hmm.
Okay, so the alcoholic parent is going to get drunk and is going to oppress you with all the things that come with being drunk, and they're going to yell at you and scream at you, maybe hit you, violate you, whatever's going on there.
Hmm.
The alcoholic parent is acting it out. Now you could say, "Well, God, why'd you put me with that parent? Why didn't you give me a good parent?"
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that if your soul was created to know strength, and you don't really know it to the level that was necessary, then that parent is actually going to be the catapult to push you into strength.
Hmm.
Stuff for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the parent really serves you, even though, from a love point of view, you're like, well, that's not a loving parent.
Right.
But from a spiritual point of view, the parent's exactly what you need.
Right. And with that said, do you sense that we do any since we're eternal and limitless, do you sense that we set these up, we plan these things prior to the birth? Is that something that you notice at all, or for yourself or others?
Well, Sufism doesn't do the reincarnation thing.
Okay.
So we're not in that, but it's a little different kind of ontology, which is that the soul is created a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, and we call that in the Azal. The Azal is the formation of the soul. And then there are many lives that the soul goes through before it comes into a human body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learning and it's growing and it's having experiences that develop it as a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, it goes into the physical body. We believe there's only one life, but it goes into the body. And then I believe personally, and this is not classic Sufism, but that this is kind of like your final exam,
Ah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, which is that when we come in the body, now we're really getting to look at what we've done with our souls.
Mm-hmm.
And what we find is that usually that there are places the soul needs to develop, which is, let's say in this case, strength. So that's a quality, and you need to walk through, let's say, I'll call we, which is the ability to face power that tries to oppress you.
Mm,
Okay, so that might be the core teaching for you at this moment in time. So what does God do? God says, okay, this my beloved son Alexander, I'm just saying in case it was your case,
mhm.
needs to learn this particular teaching. Okay, so then God looks and says, okay, well, which parent, which family would be the right place for him to come into body, which would really teach him this.
Right.
Okay, and that's how you end up in that family.
That makes sense. It almost sounds like it's like being dropped in a video game or some sort of simulation to kind of play this out. And okay, here's the test. Like, let's see how you do, you know?
It really is. In a very deep way, it's really what it is. And yet there's incredible support. There's angels and there's caring and there's help. There's so much help to get you through it. And
Hmm.
it's all there if you open to it.
Right.
But what God wants is complete yourself, complete your reality, which means find me, reach your enlightenment, reach your consciousness, your unity state. Find it. I've given you everything. I gave you the parents, I gave you the angels, I gave you the friends, gave you the girlfriend, gave you the whatever you needed. I put it in front of you. But now the only thing that's left is you. What are you going to do with it?
Right. Yeah. That's exciting and terrifying all at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly. It is a little exciting and a little terrifying. But,
Yeah.
hiding from it doesn't actually do anything. Like the ostrich may put its head in the sand if the wolf is chasing him.
Hmm.
But, if he puts his head in the sand, all he's going to do is get eaten. You know,
Right.
you don't want to put your head in the sand. What you want to do is kind of wake up and say, okay, this is what's going on here. How do I complete myself? How do I learn my teachings? How do I get the lessons I need so that I can, use this life in the best way possible?
Yeah. Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about the Institute of Spiritual Healing? How did that begin and what's it all about? What do you offer? What do you teach? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Institute of Spiritual Healing actually was just absorbed into the University of Sufism, so it's now going to
Okay.
be part of the University of Sufism. And its role is to kind of help people understand things I've been teaching you today or talking to you about. Maybe I'm not teaching you.
Mhm.
But, what is our human being? Why are we here? What's our walking? Um, we go into energetics, kind of what things that you're doing,
Mhm.
looking at the energetic nature of humanity. And
Mhm.
then we really work deeply on connecting them to God. There's 28 stations of what we call connection, which go into the world of unity. And we're
Mhm.
working through the heart. So when people, like our first level teaches people to kind of understand how to deal with their selves, their nafs, their ego selves,
Mhm.
and how to, work through them.
Sure.
And then our second level, we bring them into the heart and we teach them how to unveil the heart so that they really find the love that is needed to walk the higher stations because it's all done through love.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the third level is, again, these are teachings where we want people to actually open to them. You start perceiving the soul reality and you see the qualities inside of you and you start to realize, oh, this is really what's going on in me. I'm learning Kawi, I'm learning to be strong. I'm learning to face the oppressor. This is where my soul needs to learn. So we teach them to go through that. And then if they embrace that, then we take them into the state of fana. And fana means to annihilate the connection of our consciousness to our souls, but turn it to our spirits, our higher levels.
Like looking deeper within yourself is that
Exactly. And even as
okay.
you can see how you moved your hand, that vertical access you're talking about, you're right on top of it.
Mhm.
As you move into that vertical, you start entering into the world of divine reality.
Mhm.
And there you actually complete yourself with, enlightenment and unity.
Mhm.
Uh, and then you really are a master. You are a spiritual master.
Mhm.
And then look at your service, where does God put you to serve on our planet from that state?
That's really cool. Um, and do you do this solely online? Do you do it in person or a bit of both? Or how does this work?
Well, we were in person up in Napa until COVID,
Sure.
and then we went online, which actually has worked well because it's actually helped us to reach out, internationally. We got a lot of international students now.
Hmm.
We just purchased a property out in Santa Barbara, which is where I'm speaking to you from now, and we're going to be developing that. So we're going to start classes on the campus shortly,
Hmm.
probably November. But we'll continue to work with online because of so many international students. So people can come in by Zoom, or
Hmm.
they can come in person, or whatever they would like.
That's really cool. Yeah, you get to connect with people all around the world and meet different type of people from different backgrounds. That's probably really exciting.
It's really exciting, and it's like it's a great network. Like no matter where you go in the world, like my son's in Indonesia right now, but we have people there, so he can stay with them and has home, places to go. And when he's done, he'll go on to some other place. So he's just traveling.
Ah, that's really cool. Um, so how do people connect with you? How do they get to that site, or how do they learn more about you, or if they want to take a session or classes or whatever you offer?
Yeah, I think. Well, let me see. I think Kuda had put in Nahida's number. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing it in the chat, but Nahida is our enrollment person. You can start by going to sufiuniversity.org,
Okay.
our website, and then Huda, if you're still on there, do you have Nahida's number? I can't remember what number she's being contacted by. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Courses at drjaffemd.com, DRJAFFEMD.com, or you can call 1-888-237-5233 extension 1.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then I'll try to put some of this information in the descriptions below so people can kind of see that or just click a link and make it easier for them.
Yeah.
Or I'll have it on the screen as well. But yeah, first I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and it was really great to meet you and learn more about you and what you do and what you offer. So I can tell you're a wise individual. So it's been a lot of fun speaking with you. Um, I like to leave the very end. You don't have to use it, but I like to just give a little bit of time and space for if there's anything you feel like we didn't touch on a topic, or if you have just some sort of final message for the audience, anything you want to share, this would be the time to do it. But it's up to
Yeah.
you.
Um, I mean, I'm very much into global consciousness right now. And so when I watch, what's going on around the world, we're in a really critical moment of human evolution, which is, where they're talking about nuclear war. I mean, there's things going on there that are very serious.
Mhm.
The answer, in my opinion, has to do, like at the core level, what is needed for human beings to move from a fear-based reality into a love-based reality, inclusional versus confrontational.
Mhm.
And we're all in that. We've all been brought up in that. My tribe is different than your tribe, and therefore we have to be afraid.
Right.
Um, what has to happen that we know that doesn't work. Like if your tribe dominates my tribe, in time you'll become the oppressor, and then the next tribe will have to fight with your tribe. You know what I mean? And that's what revolution's all about. It just keeps turning like that.
Mhm.
The way out of it is that people like us need to find the love and the wisdom in our hearts and radiate that and teach and heal and help others. And that's how we could shift this. We can bring us into a love-based reality. And so my final statement is, you know, if you take out anything from the teachings that I've given today, which is walk your heart into love and be able to radiate that love and hold that love no matter what happens to you, and really help to bring peace onto our planet. And that's the highest message I want to give to you people. And this way, the Sufi way is one way to do it. Energetic healing is very helpful. It's another way to do it. You should put them together. That's the highest way, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Learn the energetics, learn the spiritual, walk your heart and soul into love, and become that master who can really, really, truly make a difference on the planet. And that's the work that is so desperately needed right now. So,
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, it's again, like I said, this has been a real pleasure just having you on and speaking with you. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you for your time. And everyone, thank you for tuning into another episode of our show. We'll see you next time. Take care now.
okay. I know.